I called my sister and tell her, I didn't know my name. Oh, very good. I tell you. Oh, my. Good man.
Think so.
I know a lot of people, I don't take
Let's talk. I'm now going to call the board meeting to order. The first order of business will be new member oath of office.
There you go.
I'm going to ask Mrs. Manat if she would come forward. And Mrs. Clark is going to administer the oath of office. And good evening, everyone. Mr. Alvin, I need to see you.
That I will faithfully discharge the duties of the office of member of the Board of Education. The High Public School Academy System. The High Public School Academy System. Lincoln County. According to the best of my ability.
Welcome, Mrs. Manat, to the board. And good evening, everyone. Mrs. Slater, could we have a roll call, please?
Mrs. Manat.
Yes.
Dr. Hahn here. Mrs. Slater, present.
At this time, we will have the approval of the minutes. I'll entertain a motion for that approval.
Council move.
Is there a second for the approval of the minutes? It's been properly moved and seconded that we accept the minutes as they are written. All in favor? Signify by saying aye. Aye. Roll call, please.
Ms. Bernard?
Yes.
Dr. Hunt?
Yes.
Leslie Slater? Yes.
Next, we'll have the approval of the agenda. I'll entertain a motion for that approval.
I so move.
I'll second that. Roll call, please.
Ms. Bernard? Dr. Hunt?
Yes.
Leslie Slater? Yes.
The next item on the agenda is completion of CAP response to the district board. A few months ago, there's 4 items on the CAP, that's the corrective action plan. There's 4 items on there that needed to be addressed so that we can submit that to the district board. 3 of those items were answered by,
Mr. Fox said he's on here, you gotta take his vote.
oh, he's up.
You can vote.
I don't think he can.
They saying you can't vote virtually.
No, he can't vote virtually, he has to be present.
They said you can't vote. All right, he on his way then.
Okay, very good. Okay, so there were 4 items on the CAP report. In other words, a corrective action plan. Mr. Bland answered 3 of those. He answered the first, the second, and the 4th. The 3rd part of that review was for the board. I now have taken that on and I'm going to respond to number 3 and try and get that submitted to the board by the 28th of this month. They're asking for several items from the board as to interaction with Mr. Bland and his group and some other items that they need clarification on. So I will be handling that and I'll be report back to you when that is completed. And that probably will not be until the first meeting in New Year 2023. But I am working on that. So I just wanted to bring that to your attention. The next item of discussion is the audit review recommendations, the internal audit overview. One meeting ago, we had the audit from Mr. Bland's group. The independent auditor came in and gave us a report. And one item on there that he referenced was that we needed to look into oversight of different functions within the school system. In other words, if one person is doing 3 different responsibilities, there has to be oversight. Example would be, if I'm taking in the money, I can't take the money in, take it to the bank, and then take care of the money. So there has to be a check and balance in place. So we're working on that now. I don't know if any of you here heard that report, but that's what I'm addressing as well. And hopefully I'll have something in place, if not by the end of this month, at least by our next meeting. That's what you need to be aware of that. Next on our agenda, we're going to have a report by our board consultant, the National Charter School Institute, and I believe that Dr. Weatherspoon will be giving that report. Dr. Weatherspoon?
Good evening, members of the new board
Good evening.
and members of the audience. I'm Don Weatherspoon. I'm one of the team members from the National Charter Institute. Dr. Gunner couldn't be here this evening. However, he will be here at your next board meeting. So, and I'd also like to introduce Brad Werfel, who is a member of the team. And I'm not certain of everything that you wanted me to cover in tonight's, I'm not gonna say presentation.
Just an overview. So
Okay.
what you do?
So, excuse me. We were engaged by the board in early October of this year. And our primary objective was to look at what was happening in the district. Just a second. Our primary objective was to utilize the experience of myself and the National Institute, which has ongoing relationship with this body in terms of your bylaws, et cetera. So separate from that, separate from what we're doing, your bylaws, your board training, and those kinds of things are handled by the Institute, which also serves several other charters in the state. As a matter of fact, there is a fall update for 2022, which Ms. Yates, who tracks what's happening for Muskegon Heights, is waiting for an opportunity to come before the board and to bring you up to date with regard to the changes and policies that you should consider and then incorporate into what's happening in terms of where you do business. Her name is, last name is Yates. I think it's Sally Yates, but I'm not sure. In terms of our work, our objectives were the following. We were asked to work with New Paradigm and this board to kind of clear up some things that were being brought up. One with regard to accountability, roles and duties, and to provide counsel in an advisory manner to this body. This board does not have staff, and there was not the kind of oversight capability that as a PSA operator on the board, which was, I think, readily recognizable because of all the problems that were beginning to surface. So our job was to come in and kind of sort that out and to bring to your attention areas of concern. And regardless of what anybody thinks, you are the client, meaning this board, nobody else. We reviewed several things, and I want to bring to your attention the contract, which is the guiding light in terms of what we were looking at in particular. So anything that arose that we commented on emanated from this body in terms of whether or not there was compliance by your management company or not. And then we recommended that certain actions be taken with regard to where we found areas of concern. So we looked at finances, we looked at the curriculum, we listened to presentations by staff members, etc. But what we also asked for and had a short meeting with Dr. Bland with regard to the contract. The meeting was attended by the board president at that time and the vice president. No, just the board president, excuse me. We did not have a productive outcome of that meeting. I advised Mr. Bland at that time that we felt that there were areas in the contract, the management agreement, that were not in compliance with what had been written, and that we would advise this body that they were in breach, and that we would advise the board to withhold funding for everything except salaries until those areas of concern were addressed. Yes, ma'am.
I appreciate that. I know where you're going with this, but I would like to talk with you more in depth about those specifics. What I'd like for the public to know is exactly what roles what you can do, and any specific findings, because I've gone through some of those. let's, because we're going to have a working, board retreat and work through some of those particulars. I think that the public has heard enough about that right now, and I want to come back with more, some solutions to some of those areas. So if you would, sir, just,
Never heard.
if you would, rather than those specifics,
Oh, no.
could you tell us how, what you will give us, how you will guide us through the process as far as the board, the things that you mentioned in your contract that you handle? I just need them to understand what that is.
So you have a comprehensive service through the Institute. That would include curriculum, that would include communications, that would include finance, etc. So just because you see these two phases, doesn't mean that's the extent of services provided to you. We will bring in experts to give you whatever advice we can based on the questions that are raised. And that extends all the way, like I said, from training to, let's say, in a depth analysis of your curriculum. The review of the proficiency of the students in academic, in their achievement in terms of MSTEP and things of that nature. So, I don't want to get into the health stuff and things of that nature, but the institute can bring those resources to bear, as the board so chooses.
Let me ask a question. So if, say for instance, there's a situation where, we have two situations and we need maybe some type of, mitigation or someone coming in to serve as a neutral party to hear both sides of a particular situation, be whatever it is.
If you want a mediator, there are mediators available. They probably may not work for the Institute.
Okay, let's see. Okay.
The Institute does not want to get into deciding things, but rather recommending to you, because we're trying to advise the board and not be an actor in terms of what happens,
I understand
because we don't have any statutory authority, or that we're not a subcontractor of the board in that regard.
So you'll meet at any time that we perhaps would need you, or all we need to do is just telephone you, or, because other past board members have interacted with you, I have not. So that's the reason why I did call for this particular presentation.
You can call us 24/7. We're supposedly under contract until June of 2023. Again, we serve at your pleasure, and we're accessible. And if one of us is not accessible, we'll get to the other. I should also say we interface with all facets of ISD and state government, and any other department that we believe that we can help bring an answer to some of the questions that we raise.
And of course, you don't take the place of any legal counsel, but you assist us in, along with that, as far as any legal kind of situations. Legal matters are handled by the attorneys, but you don't particularly step in those particular, you may advise us, but not necessarily.
In terms of my experience, I have been in situations like this several times before in several different districts. And so the problems are very similar. So based on that experience, I can bring to bear the outcomes of decisions that people have made that have been good, and some of them that have been not so beneficial to the system or to the students. And Mr. Werfel and I have worked together since 1996 in different capacities.
So you will be assisting us so that we won't have to experience some of the other maybe challenges that other organizations have had. If you see them coming our way, or if we're heading in a direction that may not be as productive as it needs to be, then you offer us options
Yes, and let me give you an example. If you have a problem today, I will suggest to you that you think 20 moves down the road because the outcome will be 4 or 5 months down the road. So you'd be in a different position in a few months if you make a bad decision today.
Right. It comes back to haunt us.
Absolutely.
What else can you tell us?
Well, we believe that there is a bright future for Muskegon Academy, provided that you take some immediate steps to right the course in terms of the way things are going.
I'm in agreement with that. I do know that we need to right the ship. From my 2 weeks, how many days I've been here? A few days that I've been here, I know that there are some major challenges that we need to address, and we can't really put them off. We have to address those challenges and then move into an area that's going to be more productive. And that's where you step in, because you've had experiences, you've seen other charter schools wade through different situations. So we're afforded the opportunity to be able to take advantage of that information so that we can make proper decisions as we move forward.
Yes, and I did have the opportunity to work here when this was created. And so I do have intimate knowledge of a lot of the stuff that went on. And some of the legacy issues in the community that still are confronting the community. And that affects the viability of the school. And I would also suggest that this board, in conjunction with the district board, have some joint meetings with city management, because your tax base the implications here are significant.
City management?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay. Very good. Well, thank you so much for that input. You may have had more, but we're going to be in a different setting where we're going to have you come back. And also, Brad, have you say a few words too about who you are and what you're helping with.
I'm Brad Warple. I run a communications consultancy out of Lansing area. I have been in communications mostly around government for almost 30 years. And I met Dr. Weatherspoon when we both worked at the Department of Education. And I think that the first time I was in Muskegon Heights might have been 1999, when Superintendent Beverly was here. And what I'd like to be able to do is help the board communicate as clearly as possible. Think about venues, think about opportunities, think about the way that it interacts with the public more effectively if possible. Give counsel. And also, as we start to pull out and find a new trajectory, I think the local media, which has shown tremendous interest this evening notwithstanding in this district, can be a partner in that if used strategically.
Thank you very much for your
Thank you.
We thank Dr. Weatherspoon and Brad for their presentation. We'll be hearing more from them, but I had not interacted with them, and I wanted to bring them not only to you, but to myself as well, so that I could get some information as to what resources we have available to us to move forward in a more positive way, whatever that means. So thank you very much for that information. Next, we're going to have a report from Academy System Principals. Mr. Blair, did you want to take care of this portion? Can you speak into the mic?
Good evening, board, members, and madam. My name is Kenya Crockett, and I am the Edgewood Elementary Academy principal. On your report, you'll see my direct contact information should you need me. But I'd like to start with our school points of pride. Starting with, we pride ourselves on intervention. We have students that really need and deserve our support and our attention immediately. So our teachers have undergone training with Clio and Theo and have started to implement that in their classrooms. But more importantly, ExecPath. ExecPath is a platform that students go on and they actually use based on their performance data, and it designs a program for each individual student. If that student uses that program for 2 hours per week, we will actually see and can anticipate their performance on the NWEA at the end of the year. We also pride ourselves on taking our children on field experiences. So in the month of October, at the end, between September and October, we went to the apple orchard where our students were able to go pick apples, pumpkins, go through the whole field trip experience, and it was just delightful to see the children enjoy themselves with their teachers and their family and friends. We are going on a field trip tomorrow, actually, to the Frederick Meyer Garden. So we are asking parents and family and friends to dress warm because we out of here. The next thing is our overall growth with implementation of the SFA curriculum, with site visits, DOA visits, and principal walkthroughs. Why is that important? At the beginning of the year in August, we were basically finding ourselves. We were learning how to crawl, which manual to use when, for what instances. We discovered that there were routines and procedures inside the manual, etc. We have rapidly gone through, and I want to congratulate our teachers in doing that. They rapidly completed the implementation phase to move on to internalization. So that means they can look at a routine and now they're starting to remember what they're supposed to do, when they're supposed to do it, how they're supposed to do it. They've increased their pacing and their perfection. And as a result, our students, about 80% of them now know and can identify their letters and their sounds. So let me say that again. 80% of the students at Edgewood, including our TK students, now can identify the majority of their letters and sounds. And they are now starting to decode words, starting to blend, and have started to memorize high frequency words. So with that, we also, I'd like to say, have had increased parent participation. So we started looking at the data from parent-teacher conferences, number one. Then we walked it on down to the Halloween parade. Then we went home down through to the Thanksgiving celebration, our harvest. And then we had parent-teacher conferences for the second time. And so you could see that data actually enlarged in the report. So we are averaging 50 parents at an event, which is phenomenal. So when I had the sign-in sheets, I actually had the opportunity to count how many parents actually showed up. And so we have their names, their contact information, if ever it needs to be verified. All right, then our teachers have participated in PD. So it was wonderful to see how enthusiastically I had 5 staff members show up on a Saturday to learn about learning environments and the importance of the learning environment. What things should be up in the learning environment. So the print rich, or the classroom arrangements, etc. They have weekly curriculum PLCs. So we walk through the classrooms, we note patterns and things that we see with implementation of the curriculum, and then on the spot, we start to give teachers interventions and clear up misconceptions and misunderstandings so that we speak a universal language so that our students get a certain percentage of curriculum presented to them in a certain amount of time. They also have I also participate in one-to-one meetings with the replication manager and the CAO. And boy, does she keep me informed. She's helped me to sharpen my skills. So when you turn the next page, you'll see our attendance for quarter 1. Kindergarten, first grade, and the average. So while the academy averages nearly 87% attendance, 56% of our students are chronically absent. Are chronically absent. So if they aren't there, we can't give them the instructions. So imagine where we would be if they were there every day and on time. And so now, in Q1, we didn't have our student support specialist. Now we have her. And so she and my front office manager are making phone calls every morning to all of the students that are absent, so that we can discover the reason for the absence and start to offer interventions. So hopefully this will improve by Q2.
I would definitely like to see that report about the reason why.
Okay. Well, what we've been finding is transportation, clothing, housing, food. Those are some of the things that have cropped up.
And I'll help you work that out.
Okay, thank you. Then here is the performance data. So this is where our students performed in Q1 when they took the NWA. So they'll take the NWEA every quarter so that we can measure their growth. And that also updates ExecPath. So if the student is performing poorly on a standard, that standard will now be introduced so that they get repetition and that they complete it with a certain amount of accuracy and speed.
You said, NWEA, we take it every quarter.
Every quarter. So we're getting ready to take that when we come back. And so you see our performance data in math, and you can also see it in reading. That means that was our baseline, ladies. And at the time being, 70% of our students were performing below grade level. And that's why that's important for us to watch and know.
So what do you do to help elevate that number? What are you doing?
So, well, let's start with homework. So teachers are given reading and response, which is the reading comprehension homework, and the students are supposed to complete an assignment every day. And then now what I am doing is we are hosting PBIS parties for our kids. So you do the work Monday through Thursday, Friday you get your reward. So we have had cookies and cocoa. This week is popcorn and punch in your PJs. Next week, it'll be something else. But every week, we are coming up with a reason to celebrate those students that are turning in their homework, that are reducing their discipline infractions, and are increasing their attendance.
I probably need to ask them how's the response from the students to that.
I'll show you the picture. They had a ball. So they had little hats, little stockings. It was really, really nice. And teachers are able to use that as the carrot. So we're trying to move away from the stick, start using the carrot as incentives. Because we are using Dean's List to record students' discipline infractions. We are also now starting to use Dean's List to record the students that are adhering to our core values. And the parents that are signed up on Dean's List will now get a progress report weekly for their students' behavior, for their students' attendance, and their students' progress on assignments. Because it's integrated, it's taking the information directly from PowerSchool and importing it into Dean's List. And now if the parents are signed up, they are getting those progress reports.
If parents are signed up, so what kind of response are you having as far as parents signing up?
Well, now, there's an opportunity for growth. So I just wanted you to have our numbers for where we started so that you could monitor where we go in the fall, from the fall to the winter and from the winter to the spring. All right, here is the curriculum update. SFA students are moving towards letter identification and sound mastery. Staff are beginning to internalize curriculum routines. Staff are more familiar with all aspects of the various curriculums. DOA support and provide resources to classroom teachers, and they are using them in their classrooms. SFA observation feedback cycles are being conducted with staff, and so are the evaluations. DOA team continues to support staff with curriculum based on questions and any materials needed. And lesson plan feedback is given to the teachers every week. So they pick a content area and they actually give them comments on what they can do to improve, or, give them the accolades for where they're knocking it out the park.
How do students respond to that?
Those are the teachers.
I mean, the teachers, how are they responding to that?
Some receive criticism and critique well, and others don't.
Have they given you feedback? I mean, do they give you constructive criticism or what?
Yes, but and our teachers also keep us honest. So if they're like, hey, you've given me feedback on this, but I don't have this information and I haven't been provided that, then we go back in, have a conversation, develop a PLC, and then we try it again. So we are weeding and feeding. So we're giving information, taking information back. Some things work well and stick to the wall, great. Other things don't, we take it away, because education is not cookie cutter, right? Everybody has different areas of strength and different opportunities for growth. Then on the next page are all the professional developments that teachers have participated in thus far. So the number one indicator on how well a student will perform in the classroom is the teacher that's in front of them. What tools and resources do they have in order to meet students' needs? And so this is a documentation of what we have offered and what we've participated in. Because not only are the teachers learning, but I'm learning as well.
And how do you come up with your checklist of what they should be involved in? Was it input from the teachers, or did you come up with that information yourself? Or?
So yes, actually data drives decisions with us. Data, right? So if we walking through a classroom and we're seeing that teachers aren't using random calling sticks, and so that means that they're calling on the same student all the time. Is that effective, right? No. So then we provide all the teachers with random calling sticks. We show them, give them a PD on how to use them, and then we start monitoring whether or not they're actually using them. We have a routine called peanut butter and jelly and braided, right? At first, nobody even knew what it was. Now you go in here and the kids are telling you, no, I'm peanut butter, no, I'm jelly. That means who goes first, who goes second when they're doing their partner read. Teachers created actual anchor charts this last week for shared and guided reading, which is a routine that is in a third manual we had to learn about. And so this week, when we're walking through the classrooms, we'll be actually monitoring if that's what's being used. So we pick one thing, measure it, see how well it's going, and then determine if we need to do PLCs or if we actually need to do a PD.
At the end of the report, I have another question to ask you. I don't think it's part of the report, but I have a question to ask you.
Okay. This is quarter one attendance here. On the last page, and then there's the list of the upcoming events. So this week, and there has been a change since I even created the report. So this week, Monday was our free day, Tuesday is our field trip, Wednesday is our PJ and our popcorn with the raffles. Then Wednesday, that's Wednesday, then Thursday are the classroom parties with the teachers, and then Friday is our concert. Now, why is that important? Because our students have been learning multicultural songs to celebrate the holidays. I walked into their music class and was just actually floored. So I'm very excited for them to see them in their red and white performing in front of their parents, who will be asked to social distance when they come to the performance on Friday.
What time is it?
2:30.
And the public's invited, or?
The public is officially invited, we just have to social distance.
My question is this: there has been a question of furniture that was purchased for your district, for your school, for your classroom. Do you feel see a need for that furniture? Is it going to be advantageous for you to have that furniture, or what would your vote be in regards to the furniture?
So I'm gonna say this. Furniture that was built the year that I was born is good and sturdy. It's wood, right? However, does it match? No. However, is it comfortable? Not necessarily. Is it ergonomically? No. And does it help teachers when it's time for them to use proximity to get to a kid when they are misbehaving? No. So I have a class, my rule for my classrooms was everything needs to match. Because when you go into certain neighborhoods, you know what the expectation is when you walk into the room. And we want to offer that to our kids. Don't they deserve that? Right? Don't they deserve a room that's bright, that speaks to them, where everything is at their level and at their size? Because we were trying to figure out how to lower tables, how to hide, and we weren't doing that ourselves, right? I have a classroom where there aren't enough seats for the number of kids in a kindergarten room. So then we also invested money in this curriculum. Then why not take the recommendations that they have for it? So I don't know if you've seen this, but this is the recommendation that we've been purchasing things in order to bring edutainment to Edgewood. Not just education, edutainment. So the sandbox and the learning stations that go around the room. So if you were going to go into a suburban school, wouldn't you see those things there? Don't children that look like you and I deserve that?
So you did not receive that. You did not receive what you.
So we've received it, but it's sitting in the cafeteria. So I've had to implement a rolling lunch so that I don't have students playing and hurting themselves on the furniture that hasn't been moved into the classroom.
So is it just a matter of it being moved into the classroom?
It is.
Enough said. So if you want it, it just needs to be in place.
Okay, because I brought my tennis shoes and my stuff this week so that I can move it myself.
Please do not. You can bring them around or something. So.
Yeah.
We still need to look at the amount of money that was spent on the furniture. If they need it, we still need to look at what was spent and where it went.
I checked into that, Mr. Fox, and I can speak to that now, if I can sure into that.
Yeah, we talking about furniture and money.
Okay, yeah. Thank you so much for your report, excellent report, thank you very much. And, the money for the furniture was from a fund called Sarissa? Pardon? ESSER. And this fund is a special fund for infrastructure. It is not from monies, tax dollars, it's a grant.
Right.
And this grant was put in place because of COVID.
Right. Should've did
The money
something.
will go away if we don't use it.
So what are they gonna do about the playgrounds, like they only have one, when the kids go out to play on the playground, they only get just one section off playground, where the kids don't even have enough to play,
Right.
Okay,
enough room to play.
And the
All right.
roof.
so I'm speaking about,
And then they're getting sent to the side because they're like hitting each other and they're like, don't have enough room to play.
Right.
I mean, so if we're gonna put stuff in the classroom.
Put some outside.
and Stuff like that, shouldn't that stuff go outside too?
And what about the books?
okay, so this is what's gonna happen with this conversation. We're not gonna have it like this. I'm giving you a report on what I've investigated. I don't have all the answers. The public will be able to speak. The public will be able to speak at a different time in the program. Please note, write down your questions, and If you don't want to go by the rules, then what are rules for? So I'm going to speak to the information I have, and when it's time for you to speak, I will graciously let you speak. But keep this in mind. Last time we were here, I just let everyone talk and talk and talk for whatever. We have a time limit on the public speaking. It's 3 minutes. If you find that your information that you're going to present tonight or whenever is going to be more than 3 minutes, I'm going to ask you to commit that to writing. I will happily look it over. I will happily discuss it with you. 3 minutes. Now, from the last meeting, individuals spoke, and I said to them that I would meet with them. I met with those individuals, and some of them hopefully are here tonight. I will do that. I'm committed to. I'm not here to take anything from you. I'm here to help give to the children and figure out a way to get to them so they can learn. That's the goal. So please understand me. Yes, I'm new at this. I may not have been to the playgrounds and investigated that, but I'm just saying, I'm going to do that. I was out today visiting the school districts, talking to the principals, because they have something to say and you have something to say. We can all talk about it. We can all try to work everything out, but it has to be organized. We have to work together and not look at each other as enemies. I appreciate the choir, but we have to realize that our babies are waiting for us to make some decisions, and that's where I'm at. That's where my head's at. So as I was saying, but the money for the furniture is a grant. If we don't use it, it goes away. It's not taken away.
Dr. Hunt, I think we need to look into the ESSER funds because in the account, it's nothing that says money from ESSER funds was deposited. The check that I was being asked to sign didn't say it was from ESSER, so I think you should do further research into that before we.
You're the treasurer, please feel free to do that. You are the treasurer.
I think we should take further,
Okay.
to take further action on it.
Okay, but the reason I'm talking to the teachers tonight is not the particulars behind the money and what, I want to know whether or not they want the furniture. Because it's in their school, and that's what I want to determine tonight. If you want the furniture, then we'll look into how we can make that happen. If you don't, we'll send it back. That's the decision I'm trying to make. Where the money came from and that kind of thing, Mr. Treasurer, please do the necessary research on that, and I will be happy to sit down and we can talk through that.
Okay.
If there is something improper with the money and how it's being spent, we are not going to do anything improper.
Okay, I get that, but we need to go with what needs to be fixed, like the auditorium. I think we spoke about the auditorium. That has to be the first point of order.
Right.
Mr. Fox? I'm on another topic at this time. If you want to address that, we're having a work session in a few days. We can go through all of that. But right now, I'm speaking specifically to the principals. I want to get input from them as to their information and their idea about the furniture.
It's an action item, right?
Right.
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 So, thank you, Mrs. Crockett, for your information. Very good report. I really appreciate it. Now we'll have Ms. Hurt to come up and speak to us about MLK.
Good evening, I'm Shelley Kurth, and you have my report in front of you, and let me just highlight a couple different things in that. When Ms. Crockett goes first, she has opportunity to talk about some of the things that we do in all of our buildings, from Exact Path that she talked about, the intervention system that we work with, the technology in the afternoons, things like Dean's List, our behavioral tracking that goes back and forth with Power School. So I might not go as in depth on all of those, but we'll happily answer any questions because it would be repetitive for some of those things that we talk about. The report reflects data from first quarter because we did not report at the last meeting regarding principal reports. Our enrollment at MLK is 211 students. And so that's our number of students that we have. I started with ordered my report according to our strategic goals for MLK and district-wide based on our first goal is attendance and decreasing chronic absenteeism. And so we had for first quarter, 28% of our students, which is 28% of our students at 95% attendance, and 16 students with 100% attendance, and 3 staff members that had 100% attendance. Our attendance averages are on that first page there, and our average daily attendance is 86%, which is an increase from last year's average daily attendance. Our chronic absenteeism is 52%. And so we still have way too many students that are gone way too much, and trying to navigate what that looks like to improve that overall. I will note that last week, our average daily attendance for the week was 65% due to illnesses, due to a snow day, due to a half day, and those things all decrease our attendance by 10 to 15% each. And so that was significant. And so our second quarter goals for attendance are often impacted by weather and for illness as we go forward into that. The curriculum and instruction, similarly to Edgewood, we have our Success for All information, and our students are in their 5th, most classes are in their 5th cycle of learning with the curriculum, and Success for All is both reading and English literature. And so the benefit of that this year over previous years is that the reading content is directly connected to the English class, the English language arts material. And so we have 100% of our general education classrooms using that curriculum every day. Like Edgewood, like all of us, we're getting used to it, we're learning it, we now know which manuals go with what, and now it's becoming more familiar with the practices and the routines of that. And also moving forward with the data collection that comes with those curriculums. Success for All visits every 2 weeks, and that's the company that comes, the consultants from the company that comes, along with the DOA, the Directors of Achievement, the coaches from New Paradigm come and are in the building face-to-face with the classrooms and visit every classroom for at least 10, 15 minutes, and then meet with teachers and myself and other staff members as needed. We also have the homework opportunities for read and response, our reading and our math that we call C3. And we don't have great homework return rates. We're still navigating a lot of that at grade level, and our students are below grade level. And so it's much more difficult for them to do. And so navigating what that looks like to send home work that the student is confident enough to do on their own, but still a challenge for them. And so that's been part of the learning curve for us as to what we print, how we work with the coaches, and what they send over for each grade level. And so that has been both a concern of parents and of teachers that we're trying to address. And so we're starting to navigate what that looks like. We certainly want to challenge our students, but at the same time, we want them to be able to find success, especially when they're doing independent work at home. So it's not frustrating for them or for families as they're trying to navigate that. And again, that goes home most Monday through Thursdays, come back, they get reward points for that. But our success rate with turning those in is only 18% during the first quarter. So we did not have a great homework return opportunity for them. And so increasing that. We also have the lesson plan feedback that is done every week by the DOA, the Directors of Achievement in the content areas, where they look at the teachers' lesson plans and give feedback based on that, and navigating the lesson plan opportunities for our teachers at MLK. We have begun doing in second quarter opportunities for them to meet together every Thursday morning in a collective space to work on grade level team plans, have support from each other. If someone's able to find, hey, I found this in this book, did you know that this technology also had these slides? Because we're learning and because we're doing that, and that's an opportunity that I can be present and come alongside of them if they have questions and what they're looking at as well. So we've had a couple of those this quarter, and we'll continue those. It is time consuming to do lesson plannings, and it's more time consuming when you're learning a new curriculum for every content area that you're doing. And so if you've taught before, if you've had that experience, it feels like first year teaching all over again because everything is new and coming back to that. And so that's a lot of the heightened stress that our teachers feel, and the time consuming aspect of that. And also anytime you're unfamiliar with something and you're presenting that, whether it's to little people or big people, you feel a little bit unsettled about that. And then you're like, well, did I cover the things that we were supposed to test, or how is this test worded? What is that? So they're learning all those aspects of assessment with that as well. Coaching, we have similar issues or opportunities with math. We work with a company called ANET that provides math coaching, and they do like Success for All. They come in and do a walkthrough. I don't believe it's been actually every 2 weeks. They started a little bit later in the school year. We started heavy on reading for obvious reasons. Our students are well below reading levels. And then we moved into math, so are increasing those visits and those opportunities into the math classrooms. And so that coaching happens regularly as well. And there's technology that goes with that, support, phone calls. The gentleman's name is actually Mr. Jeff Mister is his name. I thought it was some digital thing they made up along the way. You know, the company was having, who's Mr. But he's available by email as well as by phone calls with them, as well as our DOAs. So that's been a good support for our teachers as well. We've had our writing coach on site, our reading coaches. We've already talked about the technology that's new to our staff this year includes that Dean's List, that behavioral tracking, the opportunities that we have to communicate with parents. We're at 22% of parents that have signed up. We've sent home the codes for that twice now, but are still working on getting parents more engaged in that. However, we do, and I would have to double check this because it's new to us as principals too, but I think that even though the parents haven't signed up, the behavior, positive and areas of improvement goes home every 2 weeks because their emails are in the system.
Okay, question.
Yep.
22%, so could that be based on just your interaction because they're just not sure what they're gonna be asked to do and if they're gonna be prepared to do it? Or are they given some type of guidelines or some kind of assistance so they can understand exactly what their commitment or responsibility will be?
Yeah, so the form that goes home with their codes has some of those details. This is what it is. It's been in our newsletter of what that is. We had a very low attendance at our last conferences. And so had those codes ready to give them, to give that support at the conferences. But we had extremely low attendance at that. I had less than 20 families represented at a conference.
There's not enough staff to go out to do recruitment or give information or to encourage.
Yeah, yeah. There's opportunities for sure for us to support parents in jumping on that and getting involved. But I think the more that they are aware of it, and we had used a previous platform, the Class Dojo, for some parent-teacher communications. So then it was, wait, we just did this and now we're doing this. So it's a backtracking and getting people engaged. But as administration team, one of the statistical items that I would love to have for us from first quarter would be our behavioral referrals. I would say behavior is the biggest issue that we have at MLK is student behavior. Because we started in Power School and then were introduced to Dean's List as the rollout of technology happened for us, getting that data backdated into Dean's List so it's accurate and providing, here's what Power School had, here's what Dean's List has, what does that look like for the quarter? So I'm hoping that that will be more accurate in second quarter because from November 4th, I'm sorry, that was the end date of first quarter, November 7th, we have been using strictly Dean's List for that communication in-house, and hopefully that will be a better avenue. I think as we're learning it, it's becoming more comfortable and more familiar for us as administrative staff and teaching staff. And again, that's positive core values that the teachers can comment on. They get points for. We're working on developing the PBIS aspect of rewards based on those points, and parents get notified of the points that the students earn. And again, I think that happens regardless if they've signed into it, because their emails are already in the system, but I'd have to verify that that's happening. I need to create a student as a parent and just be a fake student so that I know how that communication is happening back home, and figure that out. I know in other places and spaces I've worked, we had Mickey Mouse as one of our congregants so that we could always track how that information was going back out to people, and see that real time. So ANET, we said that there was some support there. GoGuardian is a tech supervision tool that we use, especially in our upper classes, upper grades, to make sure that the students are on the technology that they need and they're not just playing anime games when they're supposed to be doing their intervention work, those types of things. But each curriculum has its own set of technology pieces. Every curriculum that you purchase at this point in this day and age comes with a digital feature. And so again, that's another aspect of learning for our staff that has been time consuming as well. But it again, part of those learning curves, and we're getting better at that. Similar to Ms. Crockett, the PLCs, the PD that's provided, the support that we have as principals is across the board with that, as well as some of the other training opportunities, so I won't go into that. We've already talked about our attendance goal and what that looks like in Q1, but there's a little more information on that. And then our NWEA growth scores are listed there, where our kids that we would call our bubble kids, and that's our low average and our average kids. Those are the scores that we really want to work on with those kids that are so close to getting to the point in their learning that we can predict that they will have success on some of the assessment pieces. But that also means it's not just about the assessment. It means that they're reading. It means that they're reading at that level. And so when we talk about that data piece, for me, that data means that they're that much closer to being a reader. And my kids at second grade, we have several, 2 classes. Our second graders are primarily using true second grade material. And I would credit that to maybe bias, because as a literacy coach last year, I would credit that a bit to the reading program that we had and the intensity that we had with that last year too. That those kids that left Edgewood came to MLK as second graders and have better opportunities. And we know that we'll continue to see that growth with the intense work that we're doing with the Roots reading and the SFA reading wings that most of my building is at. But you can see in the 2nd, 3rd, 4th, and 5th grade, 5th grade, for example, is 63% that's at the below, not below average, but well below norms on that. And 6th grade carries over to the next page. But again, when we have 0 students in 5th grade at the 81 to 100%, and in 6th grade, 3% of our kids in that 81 to 100% level. I had behavior issues just this week in our kids in some of our classrooms for reading. And it was our 4th through 6th graders that are in our lowest level for that grade. They're reading in 2nd grade curriculum is their level of where they're studying. That's where they've tested. But their behavior patterns, as they've learned over time, because it's hard, because they don't know how to read, they've learned that if I mess up, or if I put my head down and I pretend I'm asleep, or if I start name calling, or if I get kicked out of class, then I don't get singled out, that I don't know how to read. And the best part about SFA, we actually have the fewest behavior problems, A, because it's in the morning, because that's when kids' learning takes place the most, and we know that, so we put those classes in there. But it's also, in some classrooms, we still have those kids that are struggling with behavior, but we also see less behavior issues because they're in a content area that's difficult for them, but they're grouped accordingly. So everybody in the room is reading at that level. Everybody in the room is reading at the 3rd grade level, even though they're 5th or 6th graders. Everybody is in the, so navigating that and helping them learn those behaviors, that it's okay and it's a safe place, because we're all in that. I think that's part of our challenge.
So for the behavioral aspect of this, even though they're experiencing some behavioral situations, they're still all kept together. You can't take that group and assist them in that area, right? There's no way to take them and, I guess I'm asking, is there a way to assist with the behavioral situation, or do we need to think in terms of having something like that put in place?
Yes to both of that. I would say yes, that we already have them grouped accordingly for reading, but I see behaviors worsen as the day goes on, especially in math, because that is not based on content. That's not based on skill. They're in grade level groups, but we have kids that are doing long division that still don't know all of their times tables, but the content area is long division with remainders. But they don't know their times tables yet, or they may not know addition as well as they need to even get to the point of times tables. Ms. Walker and I, she's our student support specialist. We had the opportunity to cover a lot of 2nd grade last week because both of our 2nd grader teachers were out ill. And I noticed when I was in the room that addition, man, those kids were tracking with me. We were moving along. They were writing their problems. They had their equations down. They could do it right with the video on time. We moved to subtraction and the behaviors increased. The difficulty of subtraction, as an adult, we don't realize how difficult that is to process and the difference of that. But coming back to number lines and helping them see that are so important. But in the math classroom, we're not grouped according to ability, we're grouped according to grade. And so yes, there's opportunity for pulling out students. We have a tutor, but our tutor, we started the year with 2 tutors hired. Both of them have moved into classroom positions and willingly accepted those for permanent positions for them. We hired a 2nd tutor who has been subbing in classrooms, and we don't have that tutoring happening because of members of staff. But that's that.
The tutor, that's a area that we need to focus on and improve.
Absolutely. Yep. So you can see the scores there for math as well, and they're very similar, except I would note that in math, we have 0 students that tested in the fall for NWEA in math at the 81 to 100%. And so our high average has 3% of our students, but again, 68% of our students are in the well below category for math. We continue to have parent opportunities for engagement, and again, a little disappointed with the illnesses that we've had to backtrack on some of that. One of the things that we have done for behavior support, we do recommend, we don't absolutely require, because we know it's not possible for every parent, but we do recommend that when they're coming back from a behavior issue, whether it was a suspension or a fight or other issues, continued disruptions in the classroom, we ask the parents to come sit in, to pop in and spend half hour in the classroom during their lunch break or at the end of the day, middle of the day, surprise your kid and show up and sit in the classroom, because that does make a difference and we have to do this together. Trying to focus on some of the bullying issues through social emotional learning is important to us. And we've also recognized that our 2nd graders think that if somebody looks at you funny, that's bullying. And while it can be, it may not be. And so developing what is bullying, what does that look like? But then who do I talk to? What does it look like to respond? And we've started using a peace pathway for working with some of that, not able to get along. Would love to have dads at recess come and play with some really competitive boys as they try to learn how to not fight when they get competitive playing touch football and that turns tackle. So all those types of typical elementary learning processes are part of our opportunities. I do send home a newsletter every week and send that out through our dean's list, but I'm happy to also make that available to others in the community if you're not getting that or receiving that as board members and or parents or community. We have been posting them on the website, so those are available there as well. We have various community supports that are present and continue to work with the Coalition for Community Development for our library. Looking forward to the garden happening again in the spring, though the collards are still ripe and you can still get them out of the garden before it gets buried in snow. The community mental health aspect of Hackley Community Care is present in the building. We did have an opportunity for a field trip for our third graders to go to the Lakeshore Museum. We also have, we have an excellent music teacher who has been bringing in different opportunities for the students, and our fourth graders are learning recorders. And so I apologize if you're a fourth grade parent and that has come home and you get to learn and listen to Happy Birthday 1,000 times, but we're excited to have music back in the elementary because we haven't had that successfully in the last couple of years. That's my report. I can preemptively address your conversation about furniture because I anticipate that based on your question to Ms. Crockett and our conversation today. Yeah.
So the tutoring, I know you said that those tutors were moved into classroom positions. So was the tutoring being offered in real time or was it like after school or?
No, that would have been during the afternoon intervention time. During that exact path time with that opportunity would have been then. It could have been also during other opportunities for students that were extremely low. We have a number of students that really, really need the support. Fourth and sixth graders that don't know their sounds, that are struggling when they look at the word to tell you what letters are in the word. And not a lot, but that one-to-one time where small groups of students would have been available face-to-face. And I believe we had 2 positions posted for that initially, and a reading coach position, and those aren't available.
So if you had someone who, I don't know if they could do it real time, but if they could maybe come like after school, would that be helpful, you think, or?
Yeah, our Project Focus app offers tutoring within that, and so a number of our students, I don't know percentages, but I will find out how many of our students go to Project Focus, and we're developing a Title I tutoring program that will start in January and have sent home opportunities and information for sign up for that. And that's an after-school program where teachers, staff members are supplemented in pay to spend that extra time with kids outside of the contract day.
Thank you.
What?
You're gonna mention, we were gonna mention something about.
I have a question.
Yes, Ms. Fox.
What are you doing to support special ed? I've heard 2 reports, but nothing about special ed.
Great question. I know that our speech pathology students our students who need speech support are working with a speech pathologist. Some students every day, some students a couple times a week based on their IEP needs. And there's some resource support in that during the content areas. There's there's, I believe, 3 different instructors that are working with our kids, but that is virtual. And so a parapro was hired to pull those students out and meet with them based on their IEP needs.
Okay. parapros to pull out kids to meet about IEPs?
To meet with those students who have the IEPs for the, to meet with the virtual person. So I didn't say that very well. So there's a parapro that goes in class, grabs the students that needs to meet with the resource teacher who is virtual and supports them by helping them get online. They meet with the practitioner, and then she helps facilitates them back to class so that there's a real-time person who is supporting them, but she's on site, but she's not the expert in the field. She's building connections and relationships with them, but they're working alongside of a virtual teacher who's online.
And my special ed people are all in Philly. All of my special ed people are in Philly. Special ed staff.
They said last week.
So we're gonna have a question.
Yep.
So I want you to picture it perfect.
Yes, I'm sorry. So the furniture is in our building. It's in our gym. It's been in our gym for, we'll say 2 months. It's not what I would have ordered if I had the opportunity to order that. And yet at the same time, our students are using furniture, which some of you know the history more than I do, for sure, about what furniture was in that building when it was transferred from junior high to an elementary, and it's the same desks. So I have little people, and some of those desks no longer adjust. So our kiddos sit on their knees to write on their desk. There are various heights, some of them open, some of them have a box, some of them don't do either anymore well. So some classrooms use tables that used to be computer tables and have the holes for the plugs in them, because we didn't have enough of the bigger desks for the bigger kids. So just a lot of variety. So I would echo what Ms. Crockett says about, do we need the furniture? Not more than an auditorium, not more than playground material. However, knowing how grants work and knowing ESSER funds and that they can only be used for specific things, my concern would be that we're letting money go that we're not going to have opportunity to spend for some of the grants, and there's deadlines for that. And then the question would be, if we're ordering furniture, and some of this may not last very long based on quality, but do we send it back to get more for that reason? I'm not sure if that's beneficial for anybody, for what that looks like. Our curriculum calls for a lot of collaboration with groups, and so these are tables where 4 students sit at one table. Will that be an adjustment, a change? We've been doing collaborative learning with big desks that don't all fit together, so I think it will be more beneficial. It for sure will be more attractive. It will look more fun for elementary students and what they have, and accommodate their bodies a whole lot better. Yep. Thanks for the time. Sorry.
And we want to continue principals, because we know you're doing double duty, triple duty. We understand that, and we're trying to work through some of that, and we're going to be talking with a new paradigm in how to maybe rectify that, or we got to find a way to rectify it. We can't continue like this. So thank you very much for your input. I'm looking forward to the public giving comments in regards to some of the things that were said. Next, on the Academy furniture, we're going to table more discussion. Oh, I'm sorry. Principal Pat. Good evening.
Okay, so a lot of our information kind of mirrors that's what's going on at both elementary schools. So I'm just gonna start with Muskegon Heights Academy's points of pride. So professional development activities since October. We have implemented, PBIS celebrations. And we did the PBIS celebrations as an effort to increase students, to have good behavior and to come to school. So one of the things that we've done is, the Friday Fun Days. We also have, an attendance celebration that we're gonna do tomorrow. I'll speak more on that later. We also, with professional development, we did testing for dual enrollment. I too do one-on-ones with, the curriculum with the CAO. We do PLCs with staff in content areas. We did day-to-day with teachers, staff, and principals. Behavior has decreased a lot since Q1. Senior and junior audits happened with counselors. There were some counselors that worked with Ms. Ellis, and they came in and worked with the juniors and seniors on audits about where they need to be for graduation for this year and for next year. So juniors and seniors both work with those people. There's also been a decrease in student tardiness at the start of the day. Coaching. So with coaching, we do have an ANAC coach that comes in and works with the math teacher, and he supports both myself and the math teacher around the curriculum that's in place, which is illustrative math for the math program. We also get SFA visits for observation and training with the ELA team and solutions team. Writing with the DOAs come in and to observe and support the ELA teachers and other, all 4 classes. New during the first quarter was Dean's List training. My staff is still being trained on Dean's List, so that the support specialists are being trained on that currently. And also we're now using the ExecPath, which is the way that they use to decrease achievement gap. So it's like a tutoring to help children get scaffolds they need to get on grade level. One of the issues with that, we need more Chromebooks, but we are working with ISD and with the RAG grant to get some more Chromebooks in for students. We are also doing coaching for teachers. We are all in the process of doing mid-year evaluation so teachers know that they can get the support that they need. Also, we're doing student support specialist training and AP training. And we also have leadership meetings bi-weekly, book reviews, and instruction. So performance data for the high school. So we too use the NWEA for math and reading. And the only data that we have is the data that we took at the start of the school year. And at the start of the school year, 7th through 12th grade, they all, the largest portion performed at 60% below, well, 62% scored below average. 23% was low average, 8% was average, 5% was above average, and we had 1% at the high level for reading data. So we will be doing this test again in January, so we'll have a more accurate number of the growth that our students have achieved over the course of the semester. For the math data, so 6% of the students performed on or above grade level for the fall math assessment. 76% performed well below, 17% performed below, like I said, 6% performed at average, and we had 0% at above average or at high average. So the biggest thing with the high school is graduation day. So right now, according to the audits, we have 10 students that are on track to graduate. 10, we have 33 students, so that's 30% that are on track to graduate. Now, just to kind of preface that, when we came off the pandemic year, a lot of the students did not do well at all from the pandemic. So with Zoom school, they didn't do very well. So these students are now having to make up that work that they missed from that entire year of school, which a lot of them did not pass anything. So now they have to make that year up in addition to what they have to do currently. So right now, we do have some efforts in place to get the students where they need to be. So the biggest thing right now and our biggest issue is getting students to complete credit recovery. And this is the same issue I had last year. In getting them to complete the credit recovery while it's early, instead of waiting until the last minute and then have to, work double time on crunch time, trying to recover these credits when they have all this time right now that they can be recovering credit. So some of the things that I have, I talked with the staff and we have talked about incentives for students to complete credit recovery. So if they complete a class, we have something for them as a way to encourage them to continue to complete these classes. We've also put in place, the state of Michigan does allow for students to test out courses. So we're doing a test out today, it's gonna be Wednesday and Thursday of this week. So students, seniors only, will be allowed to come in on Wednesday and Thursday and make an attempt to test out courses. And that would erase whatever credit recovery that they would need, because basically what they're saying is they understand the content and they have mastered the content in their course. And they don't need to take that course. They test it out of it. So we'll see how that works, see what happens with that on Wednesday and Thursday. And then we'll also see what the incentives do as far as completing the credit recovery to get these classes completed.
Ms. Pat, for the tests, where are those tests coming from?
Typically it's a comprehensive test.
Like a standard?
Mm-hmm. It's just a comprehensive test. Usually it's maybe like a final exam, something that just encompasses all the standards for whatever course that is. If the student can prove by taking this test that I understand all the standards in this course, then they get credit for the class.
Okay, thank you.
All right, next is attendance data. So we have an issue with attendance as well over here. So we have 264 students. And chronic absenteeism is 72% average. So we need to be at 75%, so students need to be coming to school. So as of right now, we did have, and that's what the incentive is for, we did have 80 kids that only missed four few days for the first quarter. And we're hoping that giving good incentives would make them come to school. Also, for the ones that didn't come, I do attendance meetings. I have done an attendance meeting. I did a big attendance meeting, and it was over the course of last week where I emailed parents, and it was an individual email to specific parents of students that had missed more than 5 days to come in and meet with us to do an attendance contract and to look at what the guidelines are for attendance and for students to be academically ready when they come to school. And we did not have a good turnout. Most parents did not show up for these attendance meetings. So we are trying, but parents are also gonna have to put some effort into it. They're gonna have to show up to the meetings. All right, so the last thing is, a couple things, for behavior, culture data. So we're using the Dean's List as well, so parents can check on that and look at how their children are doing as far as behavior. like Edgewood, and I don't know about Edgewood, but I know MLK, we're not getting a lot of parents to sign up for these lists. So they're not utilizing the system. I have sent it out in a messenger, in a message from through Messenger. And it's also, the way to get in the portal is on the newsletter every week they go out. So parents have been informed about these lists. I've talked to them about these lists. So once we can get parents to sign up for these lists, they can go in and access their data. And the final thing is intervention. So the interventions that I put in place for the students that are struggling with me, and that's mainly students that with the low reading and math levels, and the students that we are trying to encourage to do the things that they need to do to graduate on time is, so we have a tutoring program that's going to be implemented and start in January. And that's to help with math and reading. Like I stated, we talked about credit recovery and being able to test out of classes to increase the likelihood of them graduating on time. And then also using the exec pay. And that's a way to decrease the achievement gap so that they would be more successful with these opportunities that they do have. And that's all I have for you.
For the tutoring, Boys and Girls Club, they're here too as well, right? They assist with that? Is that accurate?
Boys and Girls Club is here,
Okay.
and then we probably can utilize them for some things,
Okay,
but they're not part of this.
okay. But they can be
Okay.
utilized, okay.
I had a question. Do you have furniture in the gym? Do you have any repairs that have been done this year?
Not that I don't know. I think they're working on the heating and cooking part.
Okay.
Thank you, Principal Patton. I know the hour's getting late, but, and if you principals have to leave, I understand that. So I know you have things that you need to do. On the furniture part, we're going to table that because our treasurer's going to be looking into that as far as next steps. So we're going to see what Mr. Fox is going to present to us in regards to that. The teachers have spoken about what their particular feeling is on that, or what their input in regards to that. And so hopefully he can take that and weigh that in with what he's going to do. Yeah.
Dr. Hunt, I just want to say, when it came to the decision about the furniture, we sat down with the replication manager this summer to determine what our needs were, plus what were our wants. And based on what our grant funding provided and allowed us to do, that grant, the Easter grant, allowed us to purchase furniture. And that's the discussion we had with Principal Kirk, because she had been working with the grants. So we have different grants that fund different things. Like we just met this past week about a grant that's gonna allow us to offer incentives to our students for increased performance and for increased attendance. So really take a look at the different grant funding and what they can appropriately be spent on.
How are you meeting about grants without talking to us?
Right.
So when some of the grants require that we be asked what it is that we need to do.
But you just said ESSER before that, right?
I said I met this past week with
About
the
ESSER.
about the MAISD. Yes, we had discussions about the Easter grant and how we should be, how that money should be spent.
And nobody from the board was involved?
You normally don't meet with us. We normally meet with our replication manager, and then they communicate out to so there's a hierarchy in which we conduct business. And it's not, we don't work directly with the board.
Thank you.
Thank you.
We're going to table this discussion of furniture, and Mr. Fox and I will have to sit down and do some talking and some more research on that, because we appreciate your input. Thank you very much. The next thing that we're going to move for, and I observed some things at the high school today that I'm troubled about, but I am going to be discussing that because it's my first time seeing it and seeing exactly what's going on. But we are having a work session with New Paradigm in regards to that. I'm not making any promises. I'm just saying I've observed that. And we have to get some answers in regards to that because our children aren't getting, I don't think, what they need in certain areas. So I've also seen some of the documentation. I don't know whether or not where it's coming from, but we have to determine exactly what is happening in those areas as well. So thank you everyone for your attention, for allowing the principals to come in and share. I appreciate that very much. It was some valuable information that came forward. Next we're going to table the furniture until Mr. Fox and I can meet. The next thing that we're going to approach is the designation of signatures for banking and checking. And according to, I spoke with someone at the bank, and we have to have a motion in regards to people that can actually sign the checks to make payment. So I was instructed by the person at the bank as to what they need in the motion. So I am going to make that motion at this time. Designation of signatories for banking and checking. I move that the signatories be President Dr. Rose Hunt and Treasurer David Fox. All previous signatories are to be removed immediately. President Hunt and Treasurer David Fox will sign checks and authorize all banking. So we have a motion, and it's been properly seconded. Now we're going to vote on the motion. Can we have the roll call, please?
Ms. Manat. Dr. Hunt.
Yes.
Mr. Fox.
Yes.
And Leslie Slater, yes.
Thank you. We've had some discussions in regards to having a superintendent in the school. We believe that we need a day-to-day person in the school district that is a superintendent. I've done some reconnaissance work on that. I've done some talking on that. And I even spoke to Mr. Bland about it. And we do want to start the RFP process for a superintendent. So we're presenting that to you now. We have to put a motion in effect and vote on it in order to get that process started. So at this time, I'll entertain a motion for us to start the RFP process for a in-house, day-to-day superintendent that reports to the board.
So, Madam President, I move that the board authorize an RFP process for the purpose of hiring an academy superintendent who will be in charge of day-to-day operations for the academy. Superintendent will directly report to the PSA board.
Can we have a motion on the floor for the RFP process for superintendent? Is there a second? Okay, so we probably move the second, that we start the RFP process to find a superintendent. That will start immediately, and we now need the roll call.
Mrs. Manat. Dr. Hunt.
Yes.
Mr. Fox.
Yes.
Leslie Slater, yes.
Next, we're going to have, and thank you so much for being patient, everyone. I really appreciate it. And I know it's kind of cold in here too, so we appreciate you waiting through that. We're going to have now a report from Superintendent Bland in regards to the New Paradigm Finances operation. Now, also keep in mind that on the 27th or thereabouts, we are going to have a working or a, what do you call it, business card? Board retreat, which is usually like a come to Jesus meeting. You know what that is? Like if everybody's gonna be talking, okay, so we're gonna be having that. We're gonna have more information for you in regards to what we discussed. There's some things that I had questions about that I wanted to discuss only with Mr. Bland and his staff. I've not met the full staff yet. I also plan to take a trip to Detroit to meet the staff in their setting, because I've not been there. I don't know who's been there before, but I plan to do that as well. So we are gonna have a meeting to talk in depth. So we're not skirting anything tonight. It's just that we wanna take time. I have specific questions that's gonna take a while. And we can't be here till 10 or 11 o'clock tonight. So we're gonna have that meeting. It's gonna either be on the 27th, and if that's not a viable day, we're gonna determine a day before the end of this month to meet. While you're on vacation, the board's gonna be working on what we can do to remediate things and at least start our children in a better direction, hopefully, not that they're in a bad direction now, but we all know what that's all about. Some more positive things to bring to our students. We're also planning to have, the students have requested us to have a meet and greet day. They want to talk to us and see us and that kind of thing. We're gonna work on doing something like that. We're also going to have a meeting with all the seniors so that we can find out exactly where they are, what they need, and how we can get them through the year. They mentioned that there's 10 that are doing well, but what about those 23 that aren't? We're concerned about them. And I do have some volunteers, some other teachers that are retired that will come in and assist us in talking through that with the students. So I don't mind being, and I've been beating on doors and talking to people. So, and we've talked about reinstituting the volunteer program and also the foster grandparent program. We're working on that as well because the children need that and we need that in the school as well. So with that said, I'm now going to turn it over to Mr. Bland. Okay. One clarification, Ms. Hodge had a previous meeting, and I just brought this program together, so she will not be here at this meeting, but she will be at the board work session. She'll be there for that, and we'll have more information regarding the finances, but she did give a very thorough explanation of finances a few weeks ago. Okay.
So this is a letter from Dr. Pearson about the partnership agreement, and the high school will receive the partnership agreement again, and also MLK. And so this talks about how it was 2 webinars that we participated in, Monday, December 12th, and also Wednesday, the 14th. And basically went over this packet that was behind it, which is a template. And this template is what they went over with also the consultants from the state of Michigan. One of our consultants is Deanna Holman from the ISD, and we have an additional consultant also that's newer to the process. And Dr. Pearson will be working with us directly also, who sent out the letter and his overall partnership agreements. This year, the partnership agreements for the schools, the state has about $60 million that they plan to divide up with all the schools that are on the partnership agreement list. In this packet right here, this is the informal evaluation that took place with Mr. Pearson, Mrs. Chapman, Kimberly Davis, and this is what was reviewed. The informal evaluation was based on last year's data and last year's programming at the academy, which Deanna Holman basically went over that information with us. And we had to answer some questions, and she helped us answer those questions because it was based on last year. This is the global view of the academy. Our unofficial certification for our membership is 590. We also have 11 students that we didn't claim that we will claim in February. That second page is students that are at risk. And so all the students are not classified as at risk. And so that's why you see a lower number on the second page. Then it goes to the average daily attendance. And this is by school. And this is by school, and the principals went over this chronic absenteeism. These are some suspensions throughout the district. And this right here.
Mr. Bland, in regards to chronic absenteeism, I know that the individual principals are doing something to address that. But what is Paradigm going to address that entire issue?
So one thing that, we're moving in the direction, we've been talking to, a couple of community members, and that we would like to attack it by bringing on more than one attendance person. So we could attack it, hard and swiftly, and not just with one person. In the past, it was just one person that was really focused on attendance.
And that means going to parents, talking to them, seeing what the reasons for the absenteeism is?
Yes, going to parents, making home visits, but I think we definitely need to have more than one person.
More than one person.
Yes, yeah. So we recommend, at least 4 to 5 people.
For that.
Yes.
Based on these numbers.
Yes, ma'am.
How many
Yes.
do we have now?
We haven't rehired based on the one that was left.
Okay.
But I have been talking to a certain community member that, he mentioned that he would help us in the meantime until we actually bring somebody on. And, volunteer, but I would like to talk about compensating him too, because it'll definitely be some work. Yes, ma'am. Yeah. And he said he would work with us until we bring on someone, but also help bring more people to the table to help knock on doors.
That's what sensitive is.
This talks about special ed numbers. This talks about teachers and teachers, vacancies on this page.
Now, the special education, that's a sore spot, that is some areas. Tell us a little bit about how.
So, when the ISD, presented the report, I think what they didn't uplift or say, we had 3 violations. One, not having a teacher in the classroom, and definitely, New Paradigm is at fault for that, but now that teacher is in that particular classroom. In addition to that, it was 2 additional violations that were in May of 2022. And that was from last school year. So what happens when a complaint comes in, they review every IEP in the classroom in depth. So it was some issues from last year in the special ed department. And maybe they didn't uplift that because that special ed director from last year works for the ISD. I'm not sure. But I did bring that to their attention right after the meeting, that she didn't uplift that 2 of the violations were from last year when the state came in, and they found those violations, like I said, from last year.
But we do realize, and we'll talk about this in
Yes.
our other session, that we've got to give some special attention to special ed because it is lacking right now. And we need.
So 2 things that, we also hired a resource room person for the high school. And in addition to that, we're going to add another resource person to the high school. When we talk about compensatory services, those extra services and extra hours that those students are going to need, in addition to their regular hours. So we also have brought in speech pathologists, social workers, and psychologists. So that's one thing that they didn't go back and mention, that since that complaint was made, I think in late September, that the majority of the special ed has been corrected.
Excuse me. I have a question. What exactly is a resource room person?
Resource room person is, they assist students that are special ed, but they assist them in reading and math, and students don't have to be in a special ed classroom for the full day.
If you, excuse me, because I do want to hear what you're saying, if you want to have conversations before the public hearing portion, please step out in the hallway, and then, so we can actually hear this, a portion of it. Thank you.
And, and so we plan to, some of those services that those, students would need will have to be also after school, because it can't be during the school hour, because they want additional services to happen for those students. So it would have to be after school or on a Saturday. If we go, this is in black and white, but the darker part talks about repairs completed. And if you flip through the pages, all the darker areas are repairs that are completed, and the lighter areas are repairs that are in process.
Okay, now, Mr. Bland, we keep talking about the gym.
The auditorium.
I mean, the
Auditorium.
What's happening with that?
So over at the auditorium, the ceiling fell in, and then sometime last year, another piece did fall out of the ceiling. So in looking at what needs to be done, that the board would need to make a motion to do our RFP. We would need to go out for bids to bring in contractors. And then the board will either create a committee or vote to what bid would be the best. And then that bid is chosen, and then that person or that company can start the work.
So I'm going to refer to you, Mr. Fine. So since this situation with the auditorium has been pending since, you said last year?
It was before that. Before that.
2 years ago? Okay. Have you did any type of investigating regarding what's needed in that area? For the
We
auditorium?
need a ceiling for sure.
We need a ceiling?
I believe that they had come in, and I know they checked to make sure it was no asbestos in there, and so that came back. In the last report that we got, it was something with the insurance. I can't, do you remember what that was about? It was,
No.
um, they said it was an issue, with the insurance, and then we never got a report back from the superintendent about what that was, and she don't now, so I'm not sure what the issue was with the insurance.
Okay, so, Mr. Fox, could I have you look into this and see exactly what we need to do before we vote on an RFP? Give me some information as to what we should be looking at, what we should be considering. And I know at some point we'll need to get 3 bids if it's gonna go through the RFP process. And if you know of anyone in the community that might have some knowledge about this, talk with them and then bring us back a report. Okay, thank you. Mr. Bland, does that complete your report, or do you have other comments?
Just to add to that, Mr. Hicks, the maintenance manager, has done some extensive research on the auditorium, and also has gotten some bids, but those bids are much older, which definitely we need to go through the bidding process so they can be rebid out. But he does have some good background on that.
Okay. Thank you so much. And Mr. Bland, I'm looking forward to our retreat session. I've got some specific questions that are some observations that I made, and I don't want to comment on them yet until I get more background, but they were concerning to me. And so we'll be talking about that in our session. At this time, where are we? Public comment. Public comment. I did mention that the next meeting, hopefully this meeting, we're going to keep the comments to 3 minutes. But if you have something that you want to additional information, I want to hear it, I want to see it. Now, the last comment, the last session I was in, my first, there were several people that had questions and comments after the fact. So I asked them to jot down their I keep all these. I asked them to jot down their phone numbers so that I could contact them. I've had meetings with those individuals, and some very substantive things came out of those meetings. So I will meet with you after the fact. I want to hear what you have to say. It doesn't go by the wayside, and there is feedback. So you can talk to those individuals. I did call Miss Cassandra Kitchen, but I didn't get a call back from her. Is she here tonight? Oh, good. Okay, so we'll need to speak also. Also, I spoke with Michelle Tyson at Lynx. She has very good input for us. You'll hear more about that from her. I spoke to Miss Fisher. We had a really good conversation. Is Miss Fisher here tonight? Okay. Well, she's going to be assisting us. We're planning to have some action committees to assist us. We talked about having an youth advisory group to assist us. We're going to do that. We also want teachers. I've spoken to some of them. We're going to have a teacher caucus group to talk with us about concerns they have and having an outlet or event so we can get the information directly. And we're also going to have a citizens group, an advisory group. And speaking in terms of that, I have done some very good work with Mr. Warren. And I am going to be continuing to work with Mr. Warren. He's an excellent resource person. I don't know, I'm just gonna say this. I want to continue to work with him because I know his passion. We actually have talked, and I told him I don't care what side of the table he's on. I think that he brings a lot of stuff to us that is valuable. So I, as the president, and also being able to have advisory groups, I'm going to continue to work with Mr. Warren and any of you that would like to work, because it's time out for talking. We gotta dig in. It's time for that. So whoever wants to help, we want you to come on board, but somehow, some way, we're gonna get through this. So I do keep all of your information, all of your notes, so I just want you to know that. Miss Aubrey, I think she had to leave, but I'm gonna be talking with her. I tried to meet with her, but she was not available, but I'm gonna meet with her. And, yeah, because these are ones that, yeah. Those are the ones from old ones. And I had a very good talk with Mr. Moore, Mr. Joe Moore, and we're gonna be doing more talking as well. Okay, so that's that. Now we're gonna go into our session for public comments. I'm going to be calling those names. The first name is Tamika Simmons. Oh, okay. So put a date on it, okay? Tonisha Williams. Okay. Mr. Fox, would you put a mic over there so that they can have access to it, please? Thank you.
Hello, my name is Tanisha Williams. I am the kindergarten teacher with the 31 kids that she was talking about. Also, our Winter Wonderland concert is Thursday at 2:30 p.m. Parents at 2:30 p.m. on Thursday. Also, I have a couple questions, just a couple clarified questions. How can one school have volunteers and parents come inside, but we can't have Edgewood? Parents are getting turned around at the door. We're getting told that no parents can be inside, no volunteers. But I just heard a report from MLK and they get the help. I have 31 kids. I'm drowning inside here. Also, in my schedule at 1:15, my students have snacks. Today, so my behavior inside my classroom is coming because my students are hungry. So a lot of my students are coming up to me crying because they're hungry, and I don't think it's fair to me that I have to pay out of my pocket to get snacks. But at the last meeting, I was told it's for food grain, not the last meeting, but I had got an email about a food grain. Where's the food? If snack is in my schedule for 1:15, why aren't my babies eating? You know, today I was told, one of my students' birthday, we have a healthy snack with us. But my thing is, why are we turning around snacks from parents if that's all they can provide us, even if they are sort of unhealthy? But we can use that as positive incentives. So today, one of my parents went out and bought 60 cupcakes. 68? Okay. And honestly, I couldn't do nothing but apologize to that lady because she was told she can't bring that inside. And I feel that this student needed that. He needed somebody to sing happy birthday to him. It's not fair. The way the teachers and parents are getting treated by one person is not, I really hope I don't get in trouble for this. But I'm at my limit. It's not fair. You have, and we care about these kids. You have so many staff members ready to not come back to school.
Right.
If you ask my colleagues, they'll say I'm a positive teacher. They're trying to keep it together, but we also get told we can't work as teamwork. I get threatened with discipline because I help first grade teachers. Yes, I have 31 kids, but when my colleagues come up to me and need the support because I have a relationship with some kids, we should be able to step in and help.
Amen.
But we're not allowed to. And my last thing, I'm sorry, but this is a lot. And my
6 minutes, seconds.
Oh, I'm almost done. But is there anybody that can answer the question about volunteers?
I'm not supposed to answer questions, but I'm going to answer this one because I did some reconnaissance work on that, and we're revisiting that. I made an appeal to revisit, I did announce this earlier, the volunteers, put together some type of criteria because people were coming in and doing all kinds of things. I says, Mr. Bland, let's sit down and put together some criteria for the volunteers. We're revisiting that. I believe we're going to have that reestablished again. We're also looking at the grandparent program. And I need to talk to the powers to be because there was some misunderstanding. I don't know what that all was because I wasn't here. But I'm going to be talking to the people that are in charge of that and trying to get that reinstituted as well.
What about the parents that keep getting turned around at the door and we're getting us that?
Okay. I don't know about that, but I'll have to talk to you. I'll need.
No, they're parents of the students that are misbehaving. And they're trying to come inside the classroom
Right.
to correct the behavior. They're getting turned around at the door.
Principal.
So we're struggling inside.
Okay.
Yeah, right.
What I need from you is
Right.
to come to me, right? Thank you very, very much.
She right. Oh, she left. She ain't gonna say nothing.
If parents are being turned away because they're coming to see their children, that's not acceptable. So we need to find out exactly what's happening with that. Thank you very much, Ms. Williams. I appreciate your input. Next is Mr. Riley, Jerry Riley.
Actually, I wasn't
Come on,
gonna,
Pastor.
I wasn't gonna call Louis Pastor, but, Louis Pastor, Mr. Bland started talking, and he just said too much last week. Because I was kind of, it's kind of disturbing that, Mr. Bland have a lot to say today. When I had people here last week, and he didn't say too much, and there's no way in the world I would let them told them lies on me.
Who excuse me.
Oh, I know who.
Okay, you mean,
I
speaking
agree.
to, yeah, but in a situation like that,
Don't come a second.
Okay, stop. Okay. We have a meeting scheduled. We have a meeting scheduled ISD because the courtesy is that if they're giving a report, you don't interject, you allow them. So we have that set up. Okay, you start your time again.
I understand that, but they was telling stuff that he said that they wasn't rolling up right.
Right.
I would have, I don't care what the policy is. I'm not gonna let you tell something that's not true.
Right.
So that's one thing.
I just want to, not comment.
Well, no, it's summertime again, summertime.
I'm sorry, because I didn't have started yet. We'll give you some free extra minutes.
All right, go ahead, Mr. Bland.
I actually want to say, after the meeting, I did approach Ms. Parker and Mr. Nicholas and told them.
That was after the meeting.
That I did appreciate how she didn't uplift the 2 violations from the last administration. And it's like she glossed over it.
Mm-hmm.
She glossed over it. So I did tell them
But,
So we're just starting your time again, so make your point so I can keep some notes
you
clear.
got some quiet there, Dr.
We've given you 4 extra minutes and we're still on 2.
4 extra minutes.
We haven't even started your time yet.
No, not 40 seconds.
I mean, seconds, I'm sorry, seconds.
I got 4 extra minutes.
Okay.
All right, but again, though, I still would have, I would say that public. That if you saying something that's not true, I would say public. They not here now. So that's one issue. But that's why I'm just saying that, speak up and tell, speak up for yourself. Speak up for yourself. And, I think that you should give the report people, to give reports, you should give them 3 minutes too. Because, listen, stop the clock, because you may talk again.
Mr. Riley,
No, listen, you
this
want
is,
You want to let me finish?
no, I'm not, because I'm gonna tell you.
Okay, go ahead.
This is a public comment. You're giving directives. If you want to give directives or recommendations for directives, leave your phone number and we can talk. But right now, we want to hear your comments, what's burning on your heart about what's going on, not directives.
Not direct, well, those are comments.
Sorry,
Okay, all right, then. But I just say that because the people here sit up here for 2 hours or so, listening to this. And then you guys say 3 minutes, and you be very precise, 3 minutes. But you're not thinking about, these are taxpayers, these are citizens. And they want to express some concerns that they have, what's going on in the school district. And nothing. You're going to have to get the trust of the community. You can have all these plans, but until the community believes in it, it's nothing really gonna happen.
You're absolutely correct.
And see, so that was one thing that I wanted to hear from him, because we need to hear what he got.
Right.
We need to hear that. I need to hear that. I'm talking to her now. I'm talking to the president. We need to hear what he had.
Right.
But y'all cut him off. But I want to hear I want to hear about the fact that we need to hear some facts. If he got something, if he has something that is not right in the system, that has been done wrong, we need to know that. That's how trust is going to come back into this community.
Amen.
Not what, how many more seconds I get?
16.
Okay. We cannot go by what you guys want us to hear.
Right.
We want to know what is fact,
Right.
whether it's harmful or whether it's good or whether it's in between. We want to hear the facts. We cannot just, well, you guys cannot say, you can't hear this, but we hear this. Give us that opportunity to hear everything.
Right.
Thank you, Pastor Riley.
And you can get my phone number, then we can talk.
Please step up here, sir. Because I want to hear everything that you have to say, but we only have a short time frame. And who's to say that you won't get the facts? You don't know me. This is my first meeting.
No,
No, you tell us up.
No, wait a minute now. I called you. I did not say that you were lying and nothing like that. But I'm saying we want to hear everything.
Thank you.
That's all. I
Mr.
want to
Riley.
hear everything.
Thank you. The next person is Mr. Joe Moore.
2532 Brindley. As a homeowner and a taxpayer, that's right. I've heard the facts. The facts mistaken when this man told me to put a belt buckle around my pants and my wife. Because that's what he done led me to believe, and like he did, trusted, I ain't got no trust in God. That little bell ceremony, Baker, they gonna hear from me, I'm setting off cheeks over there. I'm gonna set it off, because I'm a homeowner tax admin, and I want them to know I'm their boss.
Amen.
Now, my man, because over there, keep the camera rolling.
It's rolling.
Keep it rolling. Don't let nobody tell you to discard what you're doing, because you're doing the right thing in this public. We need that.
Amen.
We need that. That's the only way we're gonna get trust back. That camera's gonna tell it all about where the trust is at. Because you hear voices, and I'm hearing his voice, and he told me what he told me today and cut off. I wanted to hear more, because I want it all shut down. If he telling y'all to go ahead on and shut that man down over there,
shut him
what's
down.
the problem? Because I need every dime of mine. And these kids up here, it's shameful. It is shameful. But hey, some of us on the board don't care, because our kids that short, Muskegon, Catholic,
Yeah.
Hesperia.
Preach.
You know what I'm saying?
Preach.
They don't care, because that's what my trust is now. And you think I'm gonna trust somebody that got their kids somewhere and they don't trust what they doing?
Come on
they
now.
got their kids out younger.
Come on
Like
now.
my granddad used to say, out younger.
Young.
Mr. Moore.
I give you my number.
Okay.
We will talk. I
All
give
right.
you my number.
Thank you very much. The next on our list is Mr. Warren.
I just want to thank the community and the staff for the staff and the support that they have given me over the last several years. Words cannot express the gratitude and the gratefulness that I have for the staff and the parents and the community of Muskegon Heights. But what I want to say is that this board has to start understanding truth and untruth. Like Pastor Riley was saying, if the MDE and the ISD wasn't telling the truth last week, then that should have been told then, not when you get behind closed doors. Secondly, when Mr. Fox keep bringing up the roof at the Martin Luther King building, which was about 2 years ago, but less than a year or so ago, when the roof fell in and they had to take the kids over to the building across from the parking lot from MLK, I called Ms. Scott and I asked her to use ESSER funds then to fix that roof. She said, let me get with John Lewis and he'll go across the street and look. That same day, to this day, I haven't heard anything else back. Now, if we're gonna take $170,000 for furniture, then the roof was $170,000 to fix.
Right.
When we talked about Mr. Bland and complained that they didn't know what was said about the roof, my OSHA came in and did a report on that roof when it fell in.
Amen.
We got fined $3,500 for that.
Yeah.
They also told you about the lead in the hallway in the debate. Well, we could use ESSER funds for that as well. So we have to start being honest. These are our babies.
Right.
These are their lives that we put in at stake. We have to take care of the business at hand instead of saying, I don't know it, I don't remember. We ain't none of us that old that we can't remember some of this stuff.
Right.
That roof should have been fixed. Yeah, they did talk about it was a fight between both insurance companies. But how in the world did you get an insurance company from the academy school and from the public school board, the same company? Somebody should have used sense and said, wait a minute, we both can't have the same insurance company and think we're gonna get something fixed.
Right.
Now, to the community, the district board thought that they removed me, right?
Right.
On the Sunday before they removed me, and I talked to Dr. Hunt about that, I went to the altar at the church
bow down on my knees and ask the Lord to remove me from this board. Because there was too much confusion, and God is not the author of confusion.
Amen.
So while they thought they was doing something great, God did something great.
Amen.
So I just say to the community, to this board, I hope you all do whatever you can do to give these kids the education that they deserve.
Amen.
Mr. Fox, I would commend you. Ms. Kitchen, Slater, thank you. Ms. Hunt, Ms. Manat, thank you, guys.
Thank you, Mr. Randall. We appreciate you. When I was with him for a few hours, almost a full day, we ended up, everybody was calling him grandpa and calling this and that and the other. I said, well, you gonna be my uncle? So I guess I can call him Uncle Joe now because I have enjoyed interacting with you. I still think I'm going to work with you because we do have, it's going to take a village. It really is. And even though right now we're yelling at each other, we're upset and all that, that's healthy, just get that out. But when it comes down to it, the talking has to stop and the action has to start, but it has to be on a foundation of truth. I hear you loud and clear. Thank you very much. Okay, Terry Cooper?
Coop.
Terry Cooper, 1430 Stone, I won't be. The clear Joe Warren name. Hey, Cooper, what's his name? Clear his name. Oh. That complaint you saw last week on ISD, I told both boards, I actually wrote the complaint. I wrote the complaint for one reason. They didn't have a teacher in 4.5 weeks. It was Mr. Swanson class. My goal was to get him a teacher in there, and true enough, it was me who wrote it. I also found the parent. I sat down with the state, we talked about it. What he said is true because I went back to Ms. Hattie before she left here. I found out a transition center is down there on Park Street. Our kids in special ed have a right, when they finish out of here, they can go to that school to 26 years old. I'm gonna show you, I've been in the system for 30-some years, and I just found out about it. So I wrote the complaint. Now, what he said also, when I went to Ms. Hardy, she's supposed to have set that stuff up with Mr. Swanson. But because we don't have no counselor, we gotta get a counselor. We haven't had a counselor in 6 years. And that's crazy.
Yes.
So we gave him some documentation, when you meet with him, you'll see it. So, like he said, he did not write, I wrote. My goal also was not only to get a teacher, we are not being attendance, being paid for those kids because they don't have a certified teacher in that room. She had a lot of experience, they worked it out. I told ISD when I met with Megan, give her some connection and give her a certified certificate right away. I came out of the paper industry. I had 22.5 years there. I always had a certificate. But my goal at that time was to learn the paper making. But when I went to this person and I told Mr. Land and everybody else, it wasn't for Mr. Mark Glover to put me up under his wing. So you need some interest, for sure. Because what them teachers are talking about, they are for real. They do need time for themselves to stretch. One good thing about that, when I came out of the meeting, the reason why I follow up on the transition, when them kids turn 18 years old, their money gets shut off. They try to transfer that money to them, and if they're not trained, they're gonna lose it. And when I got involved, this kid was actually trained. She actually was taking care of her grandmama who had cancer, didn't have not a clue. So I went to Mr. Scott at the time. Mr. Scott, what should I do? She gave me the connection from there. We cannot do this by ourselves. What they said on the attendance piece, that attendance piece, do you hear everyone what they said? It's the same pattern. It's the same family member.
Mm.
Because this week I went to her house to get her paper signed, and true enough, the kid was getting ready to go to work, not to work, but to school. I just asked Ms. Fidel about it. This kid has not shown up. Where did that kid go? She walked. But in our house, her daddy got no legs. So we need to get out there too and get some community. Another piece, these behaviors, I can show you the fruit. And it's simple. Our kids can't see. They really need glasses. We need to get eye exam.
In here.
All right? She said something last week. She said, where are the parents? That is true. No parents here. That you got kids here.
No.
But what has happened, that water, simple water, you are paying for some water bottles ever since August that never showed up in King.
Mm.
Where they at?
She already fought up on it.
Oh, yeah.
But the kids are dehydrated for sure, and they can't see. Simply that. Back to what we did last week, my heart went out to Miss Antoinette. I started to say something. We don't realize, you almost said, you mentioned my teacher, but you got to call the name God.
Mm.
I'm glad you got your sister with her, because she knows where she is. All right? But in the meantime, not only that, what we do did to her, and she always mentioned about, this community was built upon religion. Pastor, get ready, call my pastor. She is ready because she's dealing with it. If you look at some of the kids, what you saw, I guarantee you saw brightness and you saw darkness.
Mm-hmm.
You can look at the kids, you can see it.
You can see it.
They are hurt, but they don't know.
Yeah.
So what y'all did to her, and when I found out, it was me actually kept him on this long. I said, Joe, go to the altar. Because you see it gonna be in the picture.
Mm-hmm.
I'm 71 years old, I'm still up here. I get blamed by my son, every Sunday. I know my 3 minutes up, but I got this video.
Man, keep talking.
What she said about them little bitty pencils, them little fat pencils, them kids need to draw. That's how they learn.
Mm-hmm.
They need the special. I told Mr. Bland today, we got a pool down here. 3 and 3rd grade and 4th graders should be coming over from our school. Always went to your principal, email her. Already told him, and I already told the swim lady.
Mm-hmm.
Because what has happened, every one of these schools are coming here now. You already got the curriculum because she's teaching water.
Right.
The tech center, gold mine, we gotta go out there. We got 15 slots out there. Each one of those slots is $1,500. We only send 3. And I gave you, when you meet with you, you're gonna see how you can get some of these credits.
Mm-hmm.
So the resources are there. We got to tap into it.
And tap into them.
So I come in, Joe, thank you. You see it on the battlefield. I work with him in it. At the paper, we 18 and a half years. If you don't get that alumni system, that's what you be talking about all the time to me. That is the goal. That got to come back. Willis Snead playing football right now. He getting ready to go to the Super Bowl, hope. Every time we see his name on the television, it makes me feel good. All right? He came out of Muskegon High.
Right.
So, to make a long story short, I did agree to help Ms. Purnell with this. I'm the one who goes to the house. I know everyone, pastor, get your congregation, get some pastors up in here, because if you don't do that, it will not survive.
Yeah.
I need your phone.
773 word. If I'm not at home, I'm in the community. They know where.
Thank you, sir.
Thank
you so much. Okay.
And get your own bathroom.
No, she ready. Okay. Make a long story short, seriously. You come in January, get them 3rd and 4th graders to start coming to the pool.
To the pool.
Yeah, because You gotta read for what you do already. And let me say this about that tech center. The reason why you need that counselor, Orchard View and Muskegon got a counselor. Them sixth graders from those classes are designing stuff already. We have got to tap into this. Take them out there, and if I want to go with me, I will go ahead and take you out there. Because if we don't go out there, I had the injection molding over there. I actually got that program because we're a paper maker. I had to train Goodwill employees. We could not keep it up because the tech center won't be it. We got the machine, I made ISD, they make it with the grant. $55,000 equipment.
Well, Mr. Cooper, you're a resource. I need to speak with you. I have your number. You'll hear from me. Thank you very much. Regina Richardson?
Thank you, Cooper.
Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Your name is clear, Joe.
You ain't something no.
Good evening. Tonight I'm just going to address the parents. First of all, in regards to what Mr. Cooper said about the tech school on Park Street for our special ed students, that they can go there until they're 26. What he did not inform you all of is that Muskegon Heights has to pay that bill. That's a bill. They'll take our kids, but we have to pay for our kids to go there, even until they get 26 if they go. So that's kind of like a catch-22. So for the parents, I'm not gonna go, I can't say what I've said anymore. I've said it already. And like the Bible says, sometimes it falls on deaf ears. So I just wanna quickly address the parents. And if you take anything from me, these are some questions in the community. These are some questions you all need to ask in regards to your students. How many certified teachers are in this district, as well as each building as a whole? And don't take anybody's word for it, because this you're fighting for the life that God entrusted you with, which is your students, your babies, your kids. So your first question should be, how many certified teachers that does the district employ, and not just a resource person. We don't want a resource person in a special ed room to meet my child's needs that has an IEP that hasn't been worked since school started. It hasn't been upgraded or anything. So special ed students are being sent home. That's against the law. Who's taking track and keeping count of how many days your special ed student has been suspended? That's breaking the law. When you keep suspending these kids in regards to special ed. They also talked about, we heard reports from all three principals. All they said, and if I missed something, correct me, because I can admit when I'm wrong. All they talked about was students' behavior and the furniture. You don't have to be a rocket scientist to understand what's going on. It was a deflection. What we know about the behaviors of our kids, we know that. We don't need anybody from the outside coming in telling us that our kids are however they want to categorize us to. Do they have needs? Do they need sometimes special care, extra care, or an aide in the classroom who they don't have that can calm them down when they're not listening to the teacher? So you got to remember that you got to ask the questions, because God's not going to he's going to hold these teachers and Mr. Bland accountable and the principals for miseducating our kids. But he's also going to hold you accountable as a parent for allowing your kid to come here every single day and learn absolutely nothing.
Amen.
In
regard, okay, I'm almost done.
I want to see your list. Now, you have a list, you said you had a list of.
No, these are
Okay.
notes, these are my notes.
Oh, okay.
Yep, these are just my notes.
All right.
In regards to, the kids, the high school students going out to MCC for the college readiness courses and the dual enrollment classes, how do you, what I see, and this is just me, what I see is because you don't have enough teachers, you're gonna try to push our kids where only 10 of them are on track to graduate right now. You're gonna push them out to MCC for them
Ms.
to not
Richardson,
know how to
Ms.
act and
Richardson,
then come
Ms.
back.
Richardson, thank you.
Okay.
If you have any other comments, direct those to me, please.
Okay.
Thank you very much.
So, no,
I'm almost done. I
No,
just have-
no, you're done. You're done.
Come on,
No,
man.
actually, I'm not.
Well, you'll have to, I'm asking you.
And when they talk about the testing scores, because I'm on my way out the door, that's why I was talking to you. When they talk about testing scores, legally, they're supposed to have proctors.
Right.
Parents, no, not one of these teachers, nor Bland, they talk about the testing and that.
The next
Not one of them
person
said
that
proctor.
is scheduled to speak,
Ask your question.
because you can't come and be disrespectful, because we haven't been disrespectful to you. Thank you very much, Ms. Richardson. The next person to speak is Cassandra Kitchen. Is she still here?
You should just let these people talk, man. We've been in here for so long. He ain't doing nothing. I
And
can't
if you
wait
have
to
extra
see.
comments, if you give me your number, I'll be happy to speak with you. We can talk about it and bring it out somewhere. So, you're next, Ms. Kitchen.
That's crazy.
Cassandra Kitchen, 75 East Maplewood. I just want to piggyback off what Ms. Richardson just said, because on my notes, I had the question, how many certified teachers do we have throughout our district, including all the schools, MLK, the high school, as well as Edgewood?
And Prince.
What is the student to teacher ratio? Because I know, I heard someone say they got 30-something students and no aid. I also would like to know how many certified special ed teachers do we have? And who is this virtual person that our kids interact with the assistance of, I guess, a resource person that takes them down to a computer and they link up with whomever that person may be? Is she state certified, i.e. Michigan, not Virginia or wherever she's at? Also, I implore that you all go visit these schools, because some of our principals have depicted stuff that doesn't seem very true. I heard a teacher last week speak about her situation at a school, and one of those teachers was here tonight speaking about her situation at that same school. So I just would like you all to verify the facts that were given by the teachers.
Can I have your list, please, to follow up on those? Well, if you, or just give them to me before you leave, then that would work. Just give me, just jot them down before you leave, and that would work, okay. This is the last one. Will you use the paper? And the last one is Mr. Spurt.
I did mine.
Mr. Who?
Who?
CB.
Oh, yeah, that's probably is. Big watchdog. I ain't got time for that.
CB 2133 grade. I just want to know this, man. Like, we got to do all this research, all this stuff going on. We keep seeing the same old stuff. Our kids are suffering. The education getting pushed back. How long is it going to take for us to get some in place where they can learn? Really do something. He's not doing nothing. You've just been here, you 2 weeks, and that's cool. You're gonna find out she was here for 8 days being president, and they got her off the board. Every time somebody moves something forward, they kick them off. You might have to be a warning every time.
Absolutely, you're right.
You might be. You
You're
know what I'm saying?
absolutely right.
So I'm saying this though. When is all, like you said earlier, we done talking. You even let this lady get done speaking, but she been here every meeting. So you don't know what we know because you haven't been here. Even when they had your name up there, you still didn't come from the 4 meetings. So that was on yours, bad judgment on your part, because if you come into a job, you need to know something that's very important. You should come in and listen. Even if you ain't got nothing to say, sit back and listen and see what's going on before you take the job. Now that you're in the job, you let this man just keep every week our kids or something. I'm a alum, I graduated 2001. Everything I see this man doing is terrible. I go out here with these kids in the ghetto and see them not want to come to school, see them dying. 27 kids have died since he's been here. Do you care? Do anybody care? Because it seems like nobody cares. Every day we come up here, we keep saying the same old thing. ISD said he needed to be gone. All the stuff we said, they saying rumors. This the word, rumors. This. The teachers ain't here. The students ain't in the gym. Ain't doing this. Everything we said was the truth. Now what? Now what? Right. Now what is we gonna do? Because we don't have no more time. We just don't. We ain't got time to be talking. We ain't got time to get him more time. Come on, baby. No, it's no. So what you gonna do? Every second counts right now. And what I'm gonna tell these kids, and I'm saying, I'm fighting for y'all. They see me fighting for them, and nothing's happening. We raising, I don't care if the parents aren't here, because sometimes the parents don't even understand, and half them people drop out of class anyway. So cool, we talking about the community. It takes a community to raise a child. So if the community coming here and expressing our feelings about what's going on with him, and everybody looking at us dumb like we just lying. It doesn't make any sense to me. And every time somebody comes, you should never cut people off when they make you valid points about something you don't understand. That's right. And that's just being real. Because at the end of the day, what are these kids going to do? What's going to happen to them? I'm tired of burying kids. I'm tired of crying. I'm tired of getting up at 3, 4 in the morning to go find somebody's kids. I'm tired. I need help too. I'm coming to the school and asking y'all for help. Y'all just looking at us like we stupid. You let a man come in here, take money from us, and just say, book our kids, but they the future. You want us to vote for you, your kids to vote for you, but they are future. How they gonna vote? They don't know how. How they gonna go to college if they don't know how? Then we ask y'all questions, nobody answers. It's always next week.
Thank you for your comments, and
this junk is crazy, man.
I don't want this to be the offensive situation, but you mentioned about me being here for 4 meetings. You have no idea what was behind that. So please don't comment about.
All I'm saying, if hold up, no, because you ain't gonna do that. If you was hit, your name was up there for 4 meetings. All I'm saying is you could have came up here and see what was going on. Because you got to figure out what's going on. It's pushing our kids back for him.
Thank you.
So come on. It's just common sense.
I
don't care about this. Man, y'all killing our kids as a patient. Y'all tripping. And I don't care. Don't nobody like me.
I just wanted to come and address, that was my mother's issue cut off. And I'm just gonna speak on behalf of myself because I actually got up and spoke, when you were talking about the furniture earlier. And, before you cut my mom off, I just wanted to say, when she read my statement or whatever, and you said her, I'm her. My name is Patient. I also want to come up, just because someone has an opinion, doesn't mean that you have to be confrontational. I'm not confrontational at all. I come here every day, every week that you guys have a meeting, I don't say anything to anyone. I still have an opinion. Now, I would like to say a few things. I'm put on a list, a contact list over at Edgewood. However, I cannot come and visit. I cannot volunteer. I have called several times to complete check-ins, and that has not happened. I have been blocked. I can go to several districts, schools, to complete visitations with all of my clients. I'm a therapist. I observe all the time, and I do not have any problems at all. Now, she said something about this furniture going into the classroom. That's a concern. I hear a lot of concerns about behaviors in class.
kids being destructive, escalating. What if a kid hit their head? Wouldn't that be a concern? I heard Ms. Kitchen say something about how she had to sit in the classroom and how she had one kid on one side, on the other side, and in front of her. Isn't that a concern for a kid that's CIEI and have behavior concerns? There isn't anywhere for these kids to play on the playground. They have one slide. Why can't that stuff go on the playground? Why can't they have a sensory room? That's all I was saying. My mother was cut off. She's worked in this district for years. We have been coming to these board meetings before you sat there. I have a degree. My mother has 2 degrees. I have a master's degree. We are all educated sitting here today. And that's all I wanted to say.
Thank you.
And my
Thank you very much.
My mother probably should. She deserves an apology.
Mm-hmm.
Well, we're going to end the session now, but I'm going to restate what I said earlier before the session started. I did give instructions as to what we were going to do as far as that session. We said 3 minutes. And I said, if you have something additional, please give it to me in writing. I still hold to that. I'm not the enemy. I'm here volunteering to assist. And I don't want to say any more about that, but everyone has a right to their opinion. But us talking back and forth is not going to really, we need to start doing some things as far as the students are not going to pay for them. So thank you very much for your comments. That I believe concludes our meeting for today. Our next meeting will be the board retreat, and that is only for the PSA board and for New Paradigm, because we have some things that we need to talk about in depth. The next regular meeting for everyone will be January the 17th.
We're not doing board comments?
I'm sorry. Yes, I skipped over that. Board comments. Mr. Fox, why don't you start?
Just piggybacking off what you really been saying, we gotta have some solutions. I've been saying it for about a month. Gotta come up with some solutions fast. We're 5 months into the school year, and our kids are suffering. Don't wanna keep repeating that, but we all know that. As far as what I got down for what I wanted to speak on, I had to write it down, so I made sure I stayed clear. We gotta be proactive versus reactive. So we can't wait until problems come and try to fix them. We gotta have stuff already in place for these kids going forward. For the community, for myself, board members, we gotta control what we can control. All this stuff that's going on, it's out of our control. We gotta move the right way and do the things that we know is supposed to be done for the kids. So it's out of our control. It's out of our control. Next thing I got this from one of my coaches. Get comfortable with being uncomfortable. If you get comfortable with being uncomfortable, you can't be shooken up by none of this. And I ain't even gonna get shook up. I ain't gonna get rattled. I'm gonna stick to the task at hand and keep fighting for these kids. The last thing I got from my mama, what's done in the dark, it's gonna come to the light.
Thank you all for being here. I've already made the announcements in regards to our next meeting. In regards to the statement about me being a Dr. Hunt, I'm no better than anybody. I'm just here volunteering to help the students, because I've had experience of having to fight for my child. That's the bottom line. However you want to paint that or look at that, that is what I'm sticking to. And I am determined to move forward in that particular area to help our students. That's my commitment. So thank you very much. May I have a motion to adjourn?
Second.
Okay, so probably move the second for adjournment. Thank you very much for your time. Oh, I'm sorry. Roll call.
Ms. Lanai? Dr. Hunt?
Yes.
Mr. Fox?
Yes.
Mr. Dr. Weatherspoon, and Brad, thank you so much for being here. The principals, thank you so much for being here and for all of the time that every.
They don't care how much research you need. Breach of contract supposed to been up. So I don't know, man. They don't care about the community. People say do this, do that. I don't know. I wish y'all parents started coming to these meetings, man, because at the end of the day, man, they going to get y'all kids civil rights. That's what y'all don't want. They don't want y'all to know. And they're trying to fix it before y'all put a lawsuit together. So understand what's going on right now. Y'all got the power. Y'all got the power. Yeah, y'all got the power. So I'm gone. I'm trying to help y'all kids, man. I don't know.